So you want to start making money as a photographer, where there are two key areas which I would focus on specifically if you are new and starting your photography entrepreneurship business journey, and those are your skills and your client relationships. If this is an unfamiliar face to you, my name's Daniel. I run a small agency, and I started out as a photographer and eventually grew my business. And I think that if you clicked on this video, you're probably wondering how you can start to make your own money or make a little career for yourself in photography. So we're going to talk about the two key areas: your skills and your client relationships or client acquisition skill. Let's first talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. For those of you who don't know, this is a process that pretty much everyone goes through whenever they're learning something new, and that's kind of at the start. You think you basically know it all. After a couple months or whatnot of getting into this thing, you quickly start to realize actually you don't know anything, and your confidence absolutely drops. Eventually, over time, you get to a point where you actually are an expert, and this is a really big thing that I see with a lot of newcomers, amateurs, people who are just getting into photography or video work. When they just start out, they really think that their work is amazing and that it's enough to be charging for. And I think the first thing you should do right now is stop and reflect on you and your skills at the moment. A lot of people, when they're just starting out, they don't have a good portfolio. I had a horrible portfolio when I started out, and I was like, oh yeah, I just took a bunch of photos, just threw them up on a website. I'm like, I'm gonna start making fucking money. That's not the case. That doesn't happen. So just be wary of that. You should really focus on getting a good portfolio, because a portfolio is kind of the foundation for everything. This is what people see when they go to look to your website or your Instagram profile, whatever. You have to make sure that your first image that people see of you is really good, uniform, and in line with your brand. Also, is your portfolio to a high enough quality where someone would want to hire you just on sheer quality alone and not the price? And what I mean by that is, for example, you've got some very famous photographers who their portfolios are absolutely amazing. When clients go and see their stuff, they don't think, oh, how much is this guy? They see the work and they say, oh, this guy is amazing. Regardless of the price, I want to hire him. Of course, not everyone is going to have a crazy budget, but the first thing that people should see and think when they see your portfolio is like, this guy's work are just such a high level, the quality is there, and then the price comes second. If you do a very good job and you produce really good results, people are going to want to work with you. Even if you've got great marketing and a very nice looking website or whatever, if your photos are bad, people are not going to work with you. Let's also talk about niches. What niches are actually realistic for you to do? For example, I love car photography. I would love to do car photography or more of it, paid work specifically, but it's unrealistic here where I am in Thailand, so I don't even bother. I mean, I don't want to spend time going and trying to make a career out of car photography when it's an uphill battle. Especially when you're starting out, I think it's very important to build a network first and get as many jobs as you can under your belt. But I think focusing on the niches that will bring you clients first is going to be way more sustainable on the long term, because you're going to be able to get more money. You can put that into marketing, you can put that into new and better camera gear, and looking and playing for the long term is going to be so much better, because you'll get to a point where eventually you have enough credibility and enough of a reputation where you can start to actually shoot what you want to shoot and kind of pivot directions if you want to. So try to think and look at what's around you in your local area, what kind of businesses are within reach, what's realistic for you with the gear you have already, and go down that route, because it's going to be a lot easier. Once you start to make money, you can basically open more doors and build a network. As far as skills go, that's what I think is the most important. That's what worked for me. So we're going to talk about actually getting clients and the client relationship side of things, how you can get new clients, how to maintain client relationships, and why you need to do this and why it's so important. Networking is the most important thing you should be doing. Regardless of the industry, regardless of what you're doing, networking is so powerful. It's who you know, not what you know. Having connections with the right people is going to open so many more doors for you. 90% or even 99% of my income and my business and my career has been built off of networking and referrals from clients, from friends, people I know, people I've met, other creatives that I become friends with. And so having a strong network is absolutely super crucial for any kind of freelancer or small business. So there's a couple ways you can go about networking and building your network. So let's talk about that. The first thing that I like to do is establish a strong identity. Make people understand and know who you are. So for example, I was always posting my photography work, my video work on all of my social media, even my personal ones. And so people who knew me saw, hey, you know, Daniel's into photography now and video work, and they always see me doing all of this stuff. And so naturally over time, they start to build this idea, an image of me in their head that, hey, Daniel is a photographer and a videographer. So whenever someone was like, hey, I need a photographer, or I need someone to film a video for me, they gave me their details and put me in touch. When you build a strong identity, people are gonna naturally remember that about you. Take a second and think about this. When you are going to look for a new restaurant, somewhere to eat, or you need a place to buy something, you need to repair your car, or maybe you need someone to fix some plumbing in your house. Typically, the first thing you do is to ask people that you know, your friends, your family, and ask them for recommendations. You want them to recommend you because you trust and value their opinion. So when other people are recommending you, you are already, you know, on a pedestal. You're already got one step above everyone else because you have been recommended to someone, and that's super valuable. So make sure you do a very good job of branding yourself and creating this identity for other people to see. Meeting and befriending other creatives is also a great way to build a strong network and get more clients. Whenever a creative, a friend of mine, can't take on work from a specific client, they pass it on to me and vice versa. And so now suddenly, whenever someone is unavailable for a job, suddenly I get a new job landing in my lap, and they've been recommended by, of course, a professional. When a photographer says, I'm sorry, I'm busy, but here's my friend and he's really good, they're not even gonna start searching for someone else. They're just gonna say, all right, that's perfect, you gave me someone else, I'm just gonna work with him. It doesn't even have to be in the same industry. For example, if you're a photographer, you can befriend a bunch of videographers and say, hey, if a client wants some photos as well, we can combine our forces and make a package deal. Or maybe a company wants some behind the scene photos, or, you know, if you have a client that needs anything photo related done, feel free to talk to me and pass me their details. Even if you're doing friends with people who are in marketing, people who are in product production, at the end of the day, the more people you know, the merrier, because you're gonna have more doors open to you, and that means more money coming in. Now, at the end of the day, you have to make sure you actually do a good job as well. And what I mean by that is providing a quality service and a service where the client is happy. And you have to make sure that you maintain these relationships with the client, because if you work with someone and let's say maybe it's a short-term project and, you know, maybe it was a one-off thing, but the client was super happy and they really got a lot of value from it, you know, they felt like it was overall great experience, they're so much more likely to recommend you to someone else. And if you can actually befriend and create a relationship with that client and, you know, keep communicating back and forth, they're naturally going to tell other people, and they may even come back to you in the future for more work. So client relationships are super important. If you can make sure that they get a top tier service, then they're so much more likely to recommend you. Look at the flip side. If a client has a bad experience and bad relationship with you, not only are they not going to recommend you, they're actually going to go against you and not suggest you and tell people to stay away from you. And that is one of the worst things you can do, because even if I go to someone, I go to a store or a specific mechanic, and one friend says, hey, this guy was really good, or his reviews are all good, but someone else says, oh, I actually had a really bad experience, that one person saying that one bad thing about you is going to heavily outweigh 2 or 3 people saying a good thing about you, because it creates doubt, it creates a sense of fear, and the client doesn't feel secure and doesn't trust you fully because, you know, of the bad experience someone they know has had with you. So it is super important at the end of the day that your clients are happy, because if everyone's happy, it's a win-win situation and you're just gonna make yourself more money. And that's exactly how I started to make myself a whole lot of money as a photographer. So if you found any of that useful or helpful at all, I'll definitely appreciate a like and subscribe. And if you're wanting to hear more about photography, video, or just business stuff in general, then feel free to subscribe and stick around, because there's going to be a whole lot of business stuff coming up on this channel, photo, video, agency related, and I'll see you guys around.